My name is Megan and I'm sitting in the passenger seat of my SUV because I built a camper in it and then I traveled North America alone and you guys had questions, so we're gonna answer them. If you're new here, I just finished sharing a 8-part series of how I built this lovely camper, and if you've been watching it, thank you very much. I appreciate you. We're gonna wrap it all up with this Q&A. I briefly sorted them into a few different categories: SUV living, solo travel, the camper itself, and me. About Megan. Why did you start wanting to live in your SUV? Would you ever upgrade to a Sprinter van or maybe an RV? Love your channel. Thank you. Really, the main reason was because I wanted to travel to the Yukon, and I looked up how to rent a camper in the Yukon, and it was going to be thousands of dollars, so I thought, why not just build one? I actually had a Toyota Corolla before this, so I sold that and bought this and then just got to building. Make it clear though, I don't actually live in this full time. I just do like long-term travels. The first trip I did, it was like 4 months, so pretty well felt like living in it. I didn't have anywhere that I was renting. I didn't pay rent for the past year actually, so that was cool. I've just kind of been taking time on and off traveling because I have a partner and he doesn't fit in this, so I can't always be solo traveling. I think the SUV appealed to me because it was a little different than the van. It's stealthier. It could have 4-wheel drive. It was a bit of a maybe easier space to work with because it's not such a big project. I just really liked the idea of being able to go anywhere I want, not being held back by like low clearance or whatever, and I didn't mind having the short ceiling because I don't live in this full time. But honestly, I could probably get over it. How do you shower or where? How will you use the bathroom? I'm pretty sure every single van life community member is asked this question. For me, showering was mostly Anytime fitness gyms or like city rec centers, because when I was traveling up north, there weren't really that many big chain gyms. But if I just went to a local rec center, it'd be like $3 or $6 to get a day pass and I could go use the shower. Another popular place to shower is campgrounds. Those are like $1 and you just hope that it's not cold. For bathroom, there are so many public bathrooms. Maybe not everyone likes to use a public bathroom, but I don't care. And I find when I'm out for the day, whether it's like a rest stop or a grocery store or a fast food place, I'll just use their bathroom. And then if I'm in nature, I use the trees. I do have a portable cassette toilet, which is, I don't know, a mini portable toilet. It's called a Thetford. This person also asked, and no one ever addresses how they will empty their toilet if they have one in their car. I use dump stations. There's a lot of dump stations for RVs. It's just like a dedicated place to hook up a tube and dump things, except I just have this little thing. I can also actually dump it into a regular toilet, but usually that feels weird to do. For the portable toilet, I really don't use it often, only if I'm in a city situation and there's no public bathrooms nearby, because it's hard to get out of the cubby that I built for it, and it just doesn't fit well in my space, and I honestly just have a bit of an aversion to sleeping with a toilet that is used. So if I use it, I like to dump it right away, which the more I use it, the more I have to maintain it, and I just don't really enjoy maintaining it, so I just try not to use it unless I have to. How do you find spots to camp/park? I'd love to start camping, don't have a car van to sleep in, but love to get out there even just for a few days. That's what counts, even if it's just for a few days or one day. Also, someone asked, how do you plan your trips, where to sleep, stuff to do, etc. I primarily use the app iOverlander in terms of finding a place to sleep. That's also for finding showers, laundry, any kind of resource related to van life. People like put whatever they find in it and people leave their reviews and photos, and it's just like a nice community app, and it's almost always what I use. There are other websites and apps out there. I can put them on the screen here, but honestly, I've never really had to use them. I also, because this is a stealthy vehicle, I can pretty much get away with sleeping anywhere for one night if I have to. There's a train. Okay. In terms of planning the trip itself, I love looking at people's blog posts. I think it's just a nice personal opinion on their experience and what they did. Generally, I like hiking, so I usually end up having something in my brain that I like really want to do. And I just pick those big things that I must do that will make the trip, and just build the rest around it. Let what happens, happens. Also, I get a lot of joy out of just experiencing a place for what it is and not necessarily just going to like the ultra hot spots. So it's really just talking to people in the area and stopping when something looks interesting. I guess it's hard to answer that because I don't super duper plan my trip. I just really focus on like some bucket list items that I must do, and then let the rest of the trip fall how it may. Chips may fall how they may, something like that. How many items of clothing do you have, and anything you don't ever wear, anything you regret not bringing? I'm pretty good with clothes. I store stuff that is out of season in my parents' basement, and I think like all of us, I wear a lot of the same stuff every day. I have one pair of sandals and hiking boots. I actually didn't even have running shoes until this past month. I keep it very light. Anything I regret not bringing though, because I'm not ever in a situation where I can't just buy what I need. I've never had an opportunity to regret. Moving on to solo travel, a many times asked question. Do you get lonely? And yes, 100% I do get lonely. I think we all get lonely sometimes, no matter what situation we're in. So I think that's why it doesn't really scare me, because this seems like the best possible case scenario of how to get lonely. I'm actually alone, versus when you're in a situation that you're surrounded by people that, you know, are meant to know you, and you're meant to feel understood and not fulfilled or not aligned with the people around me. That's a much worse loneliness. But when you're lonely because you're actually alone, you can just go out and talk to someone, call a friend, or for me, I get a lot of joy of just being around people. So if I go to like a community area, just striking up conversations with people in situations that you might otherwise not, maybe with the barista at the cafe or grocery store clerk instead of going to the self-checkout. I'm always amazed, like when I go to hot spring or when I go hiking on a trail, like I always end up talking to more people when I'm traveling solo. While I do get lonely, I also find that I don't get lonely as fast as I used to, and I do think that is a bit of a practice of just knowing how to be with yourself, distraction-free. So if you're thinking of doing something like this and you have no idea what it's going to be like and this really scares you and it's kind of what's stopping you, I recommend just spending a day by yourself with no distractions, no podcast, no video, no music. Be with yourself and sit with that and your thoughts, and eventually that'll just become comfier for you. The solitude that comes with solo travel is also what makes it such a rewarding experience, and you learn what you're capable of, and you just confidence boost way up there. How do you get over being creeped out alone on trails? Also, do you ever worry about running into wild animals while hiking? And yes, also that. I associate the word creeped out more with humans. I try not to consume too much true crime stuff because I feel like that makes the paranoia worse. And for the most part, people are friendly and fine, especially in the outdoor community, camping and hiking. Of course, like I'm out in the middle of nowhere, so that's kind of creepy, but I don't know, no one else is around. Don't get me wrong, it is definitely creepy. But I have my systems in place that I know will be there if something goes wrong. I have a Garmin InReach satellite phone for when I'm not in service. My mom has my GPS tracking location on all the time. I have my keys handy so I can leave a situation, which I have had to do before. Not for any emergency reason, but just because I felt uncomfortable and didn't want to be there. But you're asking about trails. On the trails, I maybe get more paranoid about animals because I'm in their zone, you know, bears and stuff, which I have bear spray. I just have to trust that I have set myself up for success, and that's all I can do, and I'm not going to let the fear of something potentially maybe happening stop me from experiencing life. You know, put fear, loneliness in the back seat, drive around with them, and make it happen. On to the camper. I actually built this a year ago, but I only started sharing the process of how I built it on YouTube in the past couple months, except for the tour video, which I did in August 2022. So if you want like a whole run through of the camper, you can go watch that. I'll link it here. First question is, how much do I think it costs? I did track every single expense that went into this. I think it came out to $4,000, which includes the Garmin, the Thule, the fridge that I have, some other stuff that maybe other people wouldn't necessarily need or include in what they consider the budget for the camper. I'd say between the wood and the electrical, maybe like $2,000. I'd say, like, for me personally, I spent $4,000 to get on the road, and because of how long I was in the camper traveling and I wasn't paying rent, it honestly was like break-even situation. It was a great way to travel on a budget, so highly recommend if you can swing it. This next question has a lot of questions about the dimensions. My 4 questions for you is, how wide is your bed? 24 inches. How much space is between your bed and your counter? 1 foot, 12 inches. And how tall is your bed pedestal? I like that they called it a pedestal because I know what they mean, even though it's not what I would have called it. That's 5 inches tall. How tall is your bed with mattress pad added? The mattress is 4 inches, so in total it's 9 inches tall. And I actually measured my sitting height to make sure I didn't have it too tall that I wouldn't be able to sit somewhat comfortably. If you are building something similar yourself, or you're just super curious about all these dimensions, I wrote it all out in a guide. It's available on my website for $14 USD, my little plug. Next question, how big is your fridge and how many days does it last when full? I'd say maybe 5 days to a week. That could vary a ton depending on what you buy and how big it is, and it's done very well for me. I believe it is 50 liters. I think it's called the JP50. It's an IceCo fridge. I will plop the real numbers on the screen. It does absorb smells a bit much, but I think that's just because it's plastic on the inside. What do you do for mosquitoes and other bugs? Of course, I have my windows open a lot, so bugs are just kind of the way it is. I don't like mosquitoes, so I do have this little bug screen that I can put over my window. A lot of the ones you'd find on Amazon aren't the right size for a full-size SUV. So I just bought a bug net for a stroller, and it fits a bit loose, but it does do the job. If I had more time, I probably would have made DIY ones. There's some good tutorials on YouTube, and I think SUV RVing, that channel definitely has a bunch of tutorials for stuff like that. Oh, someone asked which year is your Yukon. It's a 2006 GMC Yukon. It has now 190,000 kilometers, but I bought it with 163. It's great. It's a great boxy shape, so it was good to work with. That's kind of all the questions about the camper. This one's a little bit community related, and it made me happy. Someone asked, do you have a club of sorts with other people who do what you do? You're awesome, by the way. I kind of do actually have a community page. It's on my website. You can sign up for free. And I would love for it to be a place where we all share our SUV camper stuff and where we're going. And there's a lot of Facebook groups and stuff that exist for that. If you are looking to connect with other people, like solo female van lifers or SUV camping in general, maybe it would make more sense if I made a Facebook group because it's just more accessible for people. For now, I just have something on my website. I would love for all of you to meet me there and just sign up and say hello. On to me. Facts about Megan. Are you single? I'm not. I mentioned him already. His name's Ryan. He's my partner, and he's very supportive of all this solo travel, so we like him. I don't think I finished answering that first question about would I ever get a sprinter van or an RV, and Ryan and I have talked a lot about getting something bigger for the two of us that we can both travel in together. That might be in the near future. Dun dun dun. I would also love to do another build, especially since I've learned a lot since I did this one. How tall are you? I am 5'5" or 5'6", something like that. It's very beneficial being in such a tiny space. What do you do for income? All right. This question, I have mixed feelings. I always dance around it a bit because for most of my life, I've always worked as a server and a bartender. Since I was 15, I was hosting, just worked, saved money, and then traveled. That's basically how I funded this camper and the travel I had ahead. Oh, there's a deer. I tried to get the deer, but I missed him. Primarily, server bartender, really good at saving money. And I think that's why I hesitate to share the other part of my income, because I don't want people to feel like they need to have something like this in order to succeed in this way of traveling. When I was 21, I invested in property. These are both fixer-uppers, ones that I was retiling, taking off wallpaper, repainting, fixing them up. With that, I do have income from those rental properties for almost the entirety of me owning them. I did not consider that money my income. That's why I always worked. One, because it's not enough to be a full-time income, but also because I reinvest that money back into the property. I'm also doing content creation. I've made $50 on YouTube, so I'm excited for that to grow. Until this past year, I always worked a normal job, and I would just book off maybe 3 months and go on a trip, or 2 weeks and go on a trip. So don't think that you need to have some crazy good remote income or become a content creator to make it happen. You can totally do it. It just might look a little different than your wildest dreams. I don't think that should stop you from living any sort of dream you have. That's my inspirational thought for you. The last question we have today is, do you have an update video planned? Would love to see how this setup has worked for you since posting this video. So as you may or may not know, I have been traveling in it at this point, and I can confirm it has been successful. Now that the camper build series is over, I'm going to moving forward into all the vlogging I did when I was traveling for that first 4 months. Into BC, the Yukon, and Alaska. I could not tell you what I filmed. I have no idea. I don't remember. So I'm hoping I made it easy for myself, but I am just excited to take you guys on adventures in this now. And with that said, thank you so much for being here, and for those who've been following along and commenting and clicking the subscribe button and the like button and all that stuff. It means a lot to me. I'm now sweating in this hot car, and hopefully I answered all the questions. If you are still here, let me know down in the comments below what you're excited about that you're doing this August, because I think I'm just going to be home, which I am excited about that. Relax, be grounded, stay in one place, and I will live vicariously through you. I will see you next week. Goodbye.